So welcome everyone. We are really excited and happy to have you join us today for this webinar. We're going to talk about some very cool topics today, and my name's Esther Todt. I'm the project manager for our academy here at Andagon, and I'll be your host for this webinar session. Just so you know, this is a first session of a series of webinars that we are about to launch in the near future. So after the webinar, if you feel like you'd like to check out more of our content, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn. We post some updates and insights there, mostly about software development, testing, and quality assurance. Or if you prefer the email channel and would like to stay up to date with training courses that we'll launch in the future, you also have the chance to sign up for our newsletter after the webinar, so stay tuned. And just to give you a little overview of what to expect today, the presentation will approximately take 45 minutes, and then we'll have about 15 minutes for Q&A, where our presenter will answer your questions. So feel free to ask anything. We also have a Q&A section. I will try to stay on the chat and the Q&A so that I can follow your questions. If I would forget something, please ask again, and I will incorporate it. And so we're really excited to have our AI expert, Martin Koch, sharing his thoughts with us today. With his 20 years of extensive experience in software innovation, Martin has built high-performing AI R&D teams and has led the development of AI-powered SaaS solutions. So I'm curious to hear his thoughts on what AI will bring to software development and how can we best prepare for these changes. But he'll share more about himself shortly. So without further ado, let me give the stage to Martin. Martin, the stage is yours.
Perfect. Thanks for the great intro, Esther. And I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see everything on a nice blue slide, speaking about the future of software engineering in the age of AI. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me here. And so my name is Martin Koch. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Aqua Cloud. And well, why would you listen to me? Why is this interesting maybe for you? I worked as a software dev for quite some time, moved over to project management, product management, and built up an AI team in our organization. Today, I'm focused mostly on strategy for existing products in the, let's say, IT project management and testing space. At the same time, we're building up now 2 new startups in the QA space again, and in the legal tech now also. And I really evaluate these software development solutions day in, day out. I read a tremendously lot about these things. I really live and breathe this topic. So let me share a few things with you today. I'm trying to be quick with those slides today. I have quite a bunch that I want to show you and still hopefully have some time later on for some discussion. So let's run through this here. So let me kick it out with, we are at the beginning of one of the biggest changes in software. And I'm going to divide this into a bunch of sections. I'm going to show you like what is changing, what is the current state of the art, like what is the current tooling that you might use today, but also what can we expect for the future and what kind of impact does this have on the industry. So I'm sure you met one or more developers already in touch with some AI tools, and the response can be a mixed bag, definitely. So why would we want to integrate this monster in our code base and create this grueling thing about code that I know that I've written, that I trust in, and then some weird AI thing that's doing something? So today I'm trying to split the hype from the real impact. And let's quickly go back to the original gangster here, which was GitHub Copilot. It's one of the first on the scene that was actually usable. It has limited capabilities, but it does provide value, I would say. And I think it's really best described like an autocomplete on steroids. And if it works right, you can quotes like, it feels like it can read my mind. And this is the Copilot in action. Still, while it's one of the first ones, and they are improving the solution here, I would definitely recommend try out some other tools. They have far moved ahead. I mean, GitHub is improving. They added chat. You can even fine-tune their models on your own repo to get even better results in the enterprise project, at least in the beta program there. But still, this is still basic, and I would recommend for some other tools to check them out. So one of the first tools that really generated some kind of hype in the AI development space was a solution called Devon from Cognition Labs. And while it is a solution that takes an agentic system, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, like what this actually means. In short, the idea is you chat and Devon builds the software for you, so a fully virtual software developer. And they told some nice hype stories, I can tell you, that Devon actually solved jobs on Upwork. So the solution was told to go on Upwork, pick up jobs, implement them, and have some happy customers just work through with Devon. It turned out a lot of that was actually overhyped. They cherry picked a few demos, faked a few other ones, and later on you could get the real feedback from those people where Devin took those jobs on Upwork, and the story was slightly different. So, but that was 6 months ago, and they have also improved so far. Sadly, this is a very closed system, which means there's no public access and it's invite only. Not too many people have an access. This is how the user interface, the current user interface looks like. Let me quickly guide you through this one. So the all familiar chat space on the left-hand side, so you can discuss like what do you want and then interact with Devon. On the right-hand side, we see now there's a browser that shows you what is the result created from this virtual developer. And in this case, it's a Grafana dashboard that it came up with and deployed to this local host environment that you can see here. You would also have the editor that shows you all the code files if you select this tab, the planner on the right-hand side that shows you the thoughts, like how Devin thinks it's going to approach this problem, what it needs to do, how it can check out this to-do list, and in the end, some infrastructure thing where it actually deploys this in the shell space. So Devin really ignited people and inspired a lot of projects. And these are some open source clones of Devon. I mean, they are not very creative with the names from Devika to Devon, and then an Open Devon, which they remain to Open Hands. And by the way, this one is actually the best one out of these three. So if you want to check out any of those, I would recommend Open Hands. I mean, it's fully free. You can check out the source code itself. It's a bring your own model thing, so easy to try out if you want to. Yeah, open hands agents can do anything a human developer can: modify code, run commands, browse the web, call APIs, and yes, even code snippets from copy code snippets from Stack Overflow is one of the promises from Open Hands. Not sure if I would run my marketing script that it can copy Stack Overflow and call this as an improvement, but here we go. So Devon and the other clones here, they are agentic. But what does that actually mean? So AI agents, I would quickly define as this is autonomous software system designed to take actions on behalf of a user with minimal intervention. So it doesn't need to be fully autonomous, but something that you can control, but basically it does the main job. So it will perform multi-step tasks. It will understand and perceive the environment and react accordingly. It will combine information from multiple sources, and it will make decisions and act upon them. And this is where the name comes from, the agent. It's this agency that it can make its own decision and try to fulfill your goal, but do it in its own decided way. So where are we now today with agents? So a lot of startups, a lot of companies and thought leaders are really betting on agents. For now, they are not really fully living up to the promise because they can get stuck, they can get distracted. It's sometimes really funny when you see them. They can get stuck in loops, or they come up with some kind of side task that they think they need to also do to fulfill your goal and then get stuck in that one. I mean, I've seen real world employees do the same thing. So, well, it is something that needs a lot of improvement still, but it's getting there day by day and week by week. To me, the agents feel actually like the early start of the aerospace industry. It is that it's very, very brittle. It can break in unexpected ways. There's a lot of tinkering, these arbitrary failures, but with an occasional awe-inspiring glimpse of promise. I think it's really showing what there can be in the future. And suddenly or now we get a taste for that one. But I think it will take off some point in time. And I think we're right now at the start of it, actually. And one thing that I spoke about was that for the planning part of these solutions, they can get stuck. And one thing that seems to be missing today is kind of the reasoning part, because large language models, they are not great thinkers. They are actually spitting out an answer as fast as they can. And so Daniel Kahneman, really Nobel Prize winner in economic sciences, wrote this great book called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. And he distinguished the thinking between a type 1 and a type 2. And a type 1 would be like maybe recognizing a face in a crowd of people, or driving a familiar route, or something like that. And a type 2 would be where you solve an actual math problem, or planning a trip, or you reflect on the pros and cons before you make a big decision. Another example might be, for example, if I would ask you, like, what is 2 plus 2, you would immediately know the answer. You wouldn't need to actually calculate it. If I would ask you, like, what is 4,711 divided by 13, well, then you would most likely need to improve or use a little bit more brain power and think more slowly about this, more deeply. So this is the type 2 thinking. And large language models by itself are only type 1 thinkers as of today, except that has been changed with the OpenAI o1 model. Now, this one is thinking at the inference time, like when we ask the model, it's not directly answering it like you would answer your 2 plus 2 question, but instead it's trying to reason, like, how does it come to this conclusion? Decide what are the steps to take to actually answer something. So it might take longer to get you an answer, but we'll think more deeply about this. And a lot of people are assuming that this might really boost the capability of this agent-based systems. There's not too many systems employing the O1 right now. The first one are starting to try it out and get a feel for the new model that needs to be prompted differently, reacts differently. But these kind of reasoning might be the unlock for some really bigger solutions to come along and actually solve this agentic programming environments. Some other solutions I would recommend to try out is Aider or Aider. It's a French solution. And they call it pair programming your terminal. It doesn't have actually the nicest UI. It's fully in the terminal console. But it is pretty good at understanding a repo. It builds really a map of that one and will understand how certain parts in your software are working together, how you need to change them. And it will also auto-commit to Git stuff that you have programmed using Aider. So you can roll back and kind of take a different decision if you don't like what it does. So these are some examples running here in the background. They are not the most impressive one, and I actually hate the snake game that they try to put off as some meaningful software because it isn't. But I think these are actually samples that I show here where it really is known to solve it in a one-shot environment. There's no bug to kind of expect in this kind of tasks here, but it can definitely do more. It can write some solid backend code, but then you might push it slightly sometimes over the edge. So you need to watch it much more closely and then maybe get it to fix another bug, but it can actually provide you some valuable source code. A few other agentic development solutions. GPT Engineer, I would skip this one, not too advanced, contrasted to the other ones. Some more free ones, Claude Engineer and O1 Engineer from the same guy, or the same team, I would even say here. They are also limited in the UI, but the results can really surprise you of what it can spit out. And so this one, I think, was one of the tasks for me here first up on creating a sales funnel dashboard. That's my little go-to test of what a system can do. You see it in the upper right corner. And this was the output from GPT Engineer. The Claude Engineer or One Engineer, I would rather recommend for not necessarily front end, but rather full stack stuff. And it can be a beneficial solution. So these agent-based development flows, a lot of promise. They're not really here yet where we want them to be. Limited usability, but they can help you. I'm really looking for the improvements of what we get out of them with the reasoning models that are coming along. And my forecast is that while they are not the go-to tool for today, possibly, they will become the default one within the next 2 years. So my recommendation is try them out and get a feel for them. So if these solutions are not really perfect, what would I recommend to use? And I would show you a few of those players that I think that are really valuable today. One of those is Vercel V1. And I would call them the leader in the UI creation space. If you're using Next.js, ShadCN, and Tailwind, they are in their home turf. They really get you some great code there, and they allow you some very fast iteration. So website to check this out is v0.dev. I've seen people try them out for more backend and general purpose development. It's not the sweet spot for Vercel v0. And I think for anything where you would like to iterate on a UI, this one is a really great tool. And so I asked this with the prompt to create a modern CRM dashboard that tracks the sales funnel. And you can see here, this is again a similar thing that we saw beforehand. We have the chat interface where it outlines its thought. And now we have here the source code, the TSX file, and upfront the preview of the actual results from this little prompt. So there was nothing more from my side here except that to create this dashboard here. I think it kind of came up with a problem that I asked it to fix it himself. So maybe this was a different solution. Let me see. And the actual solution that was created here, I have on the next slide coming up. So I think it's even, is it a video? No, it isn't. So I think it's actually a usable UI, I must say. Pretty nice for a first shot. And this one took me like 1 minute to create. And I think in the next step, I ask it to kind of change up the coloring for the sales funnel to better define, but to make it easier to see like what's there instead of this boring black. So this one is something that you can now connect with another solution to write the backend with and get for some really fast iterations on the front end side. So for any UI things, I can actually recommend v0. It's free to try out with some limited capability or some limited prompts that you have there, but you can actually get a feel for that without having to invest any money. Another thing that I'm actually a fan of, I must say, and this is an AI code editor where they took the Visual Studio Code source base and forked it into their own editor. It is not really agentic, but it's really useful. And until these agentic systems are actually reliable, I think developers need to monitor AI code changes very closely. And Cursor seems to be having the best tools for this right now. So when we ran out of devs for our initiatives, I coded a small POC. I mean, not that small, I must say, using Cursor to show off to our partners. And the feedback on this POC was really good. And I got some feedback that they called it, oh, this is really impressive. And they definitely like what they saw. And I wish that was because of my coding skill, but it wasn't, as most of the work was done by Cursor with some smarter prompting from me and fixing a few things left and right. So applying changes to the code that you have in front of you, iterating on that one, I think Cursor is really gets 2 thumbs up from my side. They have gotten a little bit of hype on social media last 2 months, and I can actually understand why, because it's really good. It's a free one, so it's worth actually paying. They got me to do that after like, I don't know, 4 months. But the free one I used for quite some time was really happy with. So I've seen a lot of people suggesting to or using v0 as the first step to create some UI and then continue with Cursor to actually build it up into a real solution. Another solution that I just learned about last week called Bolt.new. This is an agentic solution. It has a free tier and it feels to me like a mixture, like a v0 Devon and maybe a light IDE. So it has a good focus on UI generation. And again, I took my trusted prompt here, create a modern CRM dashboard that tracks the sales funnel. And when I entered this into the system, it suggested to maybe blow this up into a more detailed prompt by itself, create a modern responsive CRM dashboard using React, da 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 da. And so this is what I went for. On the next slide, you can now see the solution building this in the real time. Again, on the left-hand side, we have the files that are being created, the thoughts of the system. We have the code on the right-hand side, and I think after it will finish creating all these things here, it will switch over to the preview tab. Let me quickly see. I think this is like a 2-minute video. I'm gonna save us a little bit of time, jump in there. You can see it thinking and trying to suggest like how to enhance this, what to do next. You can see it deploying it. And then it deployed me this blank page and was a little bit let down, tried to click around with that one. But then it by itself, it recognized that there is an issue and suggested for me to actually fix this issue. Potential problems detected, so we can see what it's found. I'm not caring about the details and suggested to fix this. And this was basically all that's needed to get the solution to actually work. I mean, afterwards it realized there's some other possible problems to fix, but for my short time trying out this generated solution, I didn't see anything that was actually wrong with it, so it felt was good enough for me. One thing that I liked about them also that deploying the solution was also just another click, and it took like 30 seconds, and I had this website live. Okay, so this is the solution created here. I'm going to go over and show you the final result created by like 2 minutes in Bolt. So you see the dashboard, you see the leads. I can even remove them here. Can't edit them though. I can create a new task. Check them off. See the changes over time. And I think that's a really solid UI, again, for like 2 minutes of time. And I think these kind of tools really allow us to iterate much, much faster. By the way, that's the link for you to try out the solution if you wanted to. Looking into the future, what does all of these tools that we took a look at actually mean for us? I think development will be much more iterative. So these iterations will get super short because I will get this UI not coded within this sprint of, let's say, 2 weeks or maybe after months in a classical waterfall scenario, but I can immediately see a result, try it out, and then understand like what I would like to change, what is missing for me, how can I improve this, and get another version of this just a few minutes later. And I think V0 and Bolt are just the first steps into this future. But with them, you can really see software in action, try it out and tweak it. And it's also enabling non-tech people to create software because you don't need to fully understand like what's happening there. It's better if you do, but you don't really need with those tools today. So I think you've also kind of had maybe a similar situation like I have, that starting with a blank page can be sometimes surprisingly difficult. But if you see something in front of you, you will recognize what is missing, what you would like to change. This is even also true when you interact with stakeholders. If you ask them what they want, they will only tell you most likely half of that what they need. But if you show them, they will recognize, oh yeah, in my sales tracking here, I also definitely need a chart about XYZ. So you're able to get good results much, much faster. One thing that I also really like about these solutions is that they empower users. They empower developers, they empower non-tech people to create solutions. And to me, they are a false multiplier because with smaller teams and individuals, you'll be able to create what could only be created by huge, expensive teams beforehand. So a small team with smart AI tools will be bigger teams working without an AI solution. And I found a really, really interesting quote from Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI. And he said, we're going to see 10-person billion-dollar companies soon, and even one-person billion-dollar companies. And I got a full quote for you too also. So let's
We're
listen
going to
to
see
him.
in-person billion-dollar companies pretty soon, like billion-dollar valuations. And the thing that in my little like group chat with my like tech CEO friends, there's this betting pool for the first year that there's a one-person billion-dollar company, which would have been like unimaginable without AI, and now will happen.
So I think these tools show really a possible future where a smaller group of people can achieve quite a lot, or even a single person. So if you do have something that you always thought, man, that would be an interesting solution, like an put into the App Store, build, have a nice website for, I think now is really the prime time to build this. And if you have a startup idea, go for it. It's really much faster and easier to do these things today than there ever was. It's going to be even faster in the future, but I think it's right now the best time to actually get a feel for this solution. Try to see like where they really get you to something that you want in just a fraction of the time beforehand, and try to get this thing that you have in your head into some actual software. It is becoming more and more feasible every day, and I think today we have the tools. I've shown you a bunch of those that actually allow for this paradigm to hold, that you can create stuff even if you're a non-technical person. Another thing that I think is going to be changing in the future in a big ways are the interfaces that we're used to. And we see a lot of natural language UI already creeping in with this chat paradigm. I think it's slightly outdated, as just a chat response is not really that great. And I think it will become multimodal. Multimodal means that it can incorporate stuff like audio, video, pictures, but also I think something that's really interesting, which is custom UI elements. So you might get a question to the system, and you could do this by voice. And I can tell you the last speech-to-text models, a lot has improved. And I think a lot of you have suffered through Siri or Hey Google misunderstanding us far too often. But these speech-to-text models have a lot to offer. And if you get them a little bit more data about yourself, they even understand what I mean if I say aqua instead of trying to think about water. And these custom UI responses are something that you can see built in a chat. Let's say if you ask like, what's the weather tomorrow? Most likely you would be more happy instead of a text response with something that shows you, oh, there's a shiny sun at the horizon, no clouds, and it's going to be 21 degrees, instead of having to listen all of these through voice or some text.
Martin, sorry
Yeah,
to
please. Sure.
interrupt. There's a question here from Peter. Is there a list of such AI tools? He's asking in the chat.
I don't have that at the top of my head right now. I think I have a bunch of my knowledge bases. So let's connect afterwards, Peter, and I will try to find out where I found those. Yeah, let's do that exactly. I don't know these from the top of my head right now. I've seen a bunch of those, but can't get your real name, but will if I look through my notes. Any other questions, possibly?
No. This is the first question. Thanks, Peter.
Awesome. Okay, so what a software UI is today can be quite pretty different than what we'll have in a few years' time. And I'm pretty optimistic we'll see this big rise in natural language interaction. And so these custom dynamic UIs, there's even a possibility on the horizon that this one becomes an even bigger part of future software systems, what means that even ad hoc software could become a reality. So we've seen my example when I asked the AI solution to create me a solution for CRM sales reporting. But what would happen if I would ask it to create a sales report for me, for example, in a future where directly it would create everything that's needed to get me this report without me having to design it up front. So the system would decide like what is an appropriate content for a sales report and generate the code that generates this sales report and show me to it. Maybe I need to iterate, maybe I don't, but it could become that software actually is so dynamic that we wouldn't fully define the user interface up front, because the user interface might change according to what kind of data we need to process, what kind of data we need to look at, and what kind of task we need to solve with it. So everything could be created ad hoc. I think this one is the furthest out there in the future, but I've seen a few steps in that direction already. And something that's not really going to deploy anytime soon, but I found really interesting was computer games fully generated from an AI model. And it's not spitting out the code for this game, but the game runs in the model. And there's a big Chinese one where you could even prompt it and generate, I don't know, a racing game that you can say you drive in the snow, or it could be someone riding on a horse with a sword in his hand. All the UI and the actual environment dynamically created through this model. So applying such a paradigm to software, maybe models will be hosting fully the software by itself and define everything that we need to see. That's even further out there. But I think the first steps we're going to see are this more custom responses in the possible chat interface and the ad hoc created interface, and then possibly full up ad hoc software before we have this model-based software coming up along, possibly in the future. Another prediction I would like to make here is that software system will definitely become more agentic. And I guess we're going to do less the task ourselves in the software that we're using, and more ask the software to do the task for us. So I think software solutions will morph in a kind of digital coworker role, and allow us to do a lot of things where we're kind of monitoring like our team of personal assistants doing certain things for us, instead of like maybe me clicking through Excel and entering all the data and writing all the formula that I wanted to use. So I'm using the software instead. Something else will get me the result that I want to from these AI solutions. So we see the application of agentic systems in the development software space, but the software that we're going to use and create in other realms most likely will become much more agentic itself. And I think possibly one of the first ones I would look for are the biggest players in the like ChatGPT and similar ones in this chatbot space. I think they will incorporate some kind of agentic systems within the next 6 months. So you will see them take some kind of action in a limited space for you. I mean, there's a lot of questions you need to kind of solve first. For example, if you wanted to order you a pizza, how does it pay? And do you trust it fully with your, I don't know, credit card, or will it run off and, I don't know, get you 15 refrigerators that you didn't see and some other task that it misunderstood. So you need to really rely on these solutions and before you can able to trust it. And there's a bunch of sandboxing going on where we'll see them do them in take actions in a limited space, and that we're safe from some kind of problems. All right, so what is the impact on the industry? And I have here a pretty bold statement that I would like to go down and explain further, like how do I come to this conclusion? And I think the cost of software will fall steeply and will go close to zero. So if you can create your individual software, why would you, for example, buy a Salesforce solution or any other CRM or any software of that kind of complexity if you could create your very own CRM? If it's actually individual to your needs, and you don't need to customize a complex solution you bought, but you can rather create your fully individual one. This will, of course, disrupt a lot of industry if this holds true and if people go that way. So the build versus buy question could change drastically. I think there's a lot of uncertainty still in the statement, though, because existing software also brings best practices. If you're not sure how your best CRM software is going to look like, you have a hard time actually designing it and getting it being implemented from some agents or from some teams in the human space. And also, if software moves so fast, it can be maybe too complex to create your own again. So that might be something to watch out. But I think the build versus buy question will be answered in a lot of different ways in the future. I mean, not only in the future, we already see it today. Klarna, I think a Scandinavian payment provider, they have kicked out Salesforce Indeed to build their own solution. And they are also famous for kicking out their support teams and using AI in that space. So far, it hasn't backfired on them, so they might be spearheading something that a lot of other companies might be trying themselves. Another thought experiment I would like you to do is imagine an AI agent going through an existing software, you show it, documenting all the behavior, reverse engineering all those use cases and the requirements that are within this software. Now you can take this documentation and these requirements you've gotten and get this implemented with another agent. All the use cases, it will decide to suggest you some technologies and implement the software. So essentially it will copy an existing software solution for a very small amount of money and short time. So if we're in that space that agents and AI models get to this complexity and power, I think a lot of simple solutions you most likely don't have either to pay too much for, or you're very fast to do them themselves. And I've seen this effect on myself personally also. There were a few solutions that I thought, oh, they would be great to have. And then I evaluated, okay, how much time would it take me to maybe implement 80% of those with AI-based tooling? And sometimes it's even faster for me to do that instead of having to go through the purchase process within the company and getting the solution rolled out. And again, I can take something and make it my own. So if something is only, I don't know, 90% how I like it, I can make it to 100 with this kind of solutions. I mean, it definitely doesn't apply everywhere, but I think that if you see something and you want something like that, with this AI development tools, it will become much more a reality or faster reality than we all expect. So that would mean that there's a shorter half-life of software, because if there's no mode for software, nothing that kind of stops you from developing this software, it will get copied either by another vendor or the customers themselves. I mean, all that being said, I think that a lot of needs to change before we see this widespread. And this is especially true for big organizations, because the technological change is faster than the organizational one. And companies can really feel like these big container ships. They don't change course that fast. If they're on track, they stay on track. And if you want to stop them and turn around, that's not an easy task. It will take some time. The bigger the organization is, the more this holds true, I think. So it will take a lot of time before these companies adapt. So don't expect everybody just to use or even know about the current state of these state-of-the-art AI solutions, which is difficult anyway, because so much is changing so fast. But what's definitely true is that if you employ these solutions, you can do so much more. Now, I would recommend not to be the road runner and put your head into the sand because AI can't do X. It might not be able to do X right now, but definitely improvements are so fast. And there's a lot of things that are coming along that I see being implemented. Like there's a scientific paper coming out, people trying that out in proof of concepts, getting it applied, fixing the shortcomings, and then suddenly, like we have a model that suddenly can think. And beforehand, we had people saying, no, this agent might not go anywhere. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and I would recommend not to just discard it because it feels better. And I'm really often surprised how often developers discard the trend that AI means for their daily work. They've done it in a certain way for so many years, and then I hear like, yeah, GitHub Copilot is a nice autocomplete, but man, real software needs to be written by a real human that understands what's actually going on. And people also say like, yeah, I've seen a lot of hype in the past, like blockchain, metaverse, even stuff like Second Life. AI is just another hype. And I can tell, no, it isn't. If you think it is and it makes you feel better, sure, feel free, stay with that thought. But to me, this feels like whistling in the dark. It's like I'm not scared. It doesn't actually work, so I don't need to change the way that I'm working. So I urge you, try out these new AI solutions. Yes, they will fail sometimes, and they will fail rarer and rarer. They will get better and better by the day. And depending on what you do, they might not fail at all these days even. And also something that I think is important to understand is that as bad as these tools are right now, they're never going to be worse going into the future. They will only get better. So don't assume a future where AI is on today's level. And I think it's better to be early than late and try out these solutions and get really a feel for them. And to let me finish now with my last slide here, is which with all of these changes and so many things moving so fast, I would recommend don't be scared, but rather be prepared. Don't ignore what's happening. Don't be anxious about it either. It doesn't help. Try out these tools, get a feel for them, try to apply them in daily life and anticipate the next changes. There's no need to be surprised. We can act today. And I think they even provide a tremendous chance for us all to do much more than we were ever able to do before. So that's it from my side. Now I'm open for questions. And Esther, over to you.
Thank you, Martin, so much. I think we could transition to the Q&A. So everybody feel free to use the Q&A section or the chat. I will be going back and forth in between the two. If you have any questions to Martin, this is the time to ask. And in the meantime, I would encourage you to check out our LinkedIn page in the future and also our training courses on our website. We're excited to launch some new courses in the near future and are also posting on LinkedIn regularly. So we're really happy for new followers and anyone who would like to keep in touch with us. And also, we have a newsletter, so if you go on our training website and you scroll down, you can sign up for our newsletter too to stay in touch. If there are no questions to Martin, then I think I'll give us still a few seconds. Feel free to get in touch with us if you have anything to. There was a lot to process, so if you have anything that comes to you after the webinar, feel free to reach out. Thank you, Martin, again, and thanks everyone. Then have a great rest of the day, and we'll be in touch with new webinars in the upcoming months. So bye. Thank you. Thank you, Martin.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Bye.